And I would defend my right to have those notions. I mean, look, the idea of you're going to stand up on stage and everybody shut up,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk, that's notions by definition.
Hello and welcome to Girls with Goals. I am Denise Curtin and today I am joined by Jarlath Regan, comedian, writer, illustrator, podcaster, organ donor. Have I missed anything?
I like to bake as well.
Oh, you like to bake? Baker. Okay, get that in there now. But anyone that knows you is well aware of your incredible podcast, An Irishman Abroad. I feel like that's definitely something we should start with. You kind of got into the podcasting game before many... I feel like before it became a popular thing, you could say. Tell me, how did that happen?
Yeah, before your granny had a podcast, I had a podcast. How did it happen? I think mainly because I was trying to move to England and I was trying to get my family set up there alone a lot. And I think we've all had the experience of a podcast being your company, and actually when you would have just been listening to the sound of your own breath or the noise around you, it taking you somewhere else. And I really was indebted to podcasts at that time because I was pretty miserable. I was sleeping on airport floors a lot. And I guess I was like, there isn't one for me doing what I'm doing, trying to start out somewhere else. And it began with that idea. How about we talk to people that have successfully become Irish people abroad? And that's how it began. And it really was just me sitting on my bed, Skyping my first guest, and then attempting to edit it and realising I don't know what I'm doing. And that was probably the biggest lesson I took away from it straight away was it's okay to admit you can't do something.
Yeah.
If I hadn't admitted I can't do it and found Brian Connolly, my producer, who edits and produces everything, there wouldn't be a podcast. So actually, the immediate takeaway was admitting your ineptitude is a valuable thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that you need help, because I think some people attack it like if they can't do all elements of it, I can't do it at all. And that's probably the worst way to look at it.
Completely getting bogged down in the back end, whereas the passion has to be there if you're interested in it. And I really still love podcasts.
Yeah.
Like I listen to you guys and stuff, and I try and listen to as much as I can. And yeah, you just have to love it first, right? If you don't love it, when it becomes really hard, you will have nothing to fall back on because you don't have that love. 100%.
And you found the niche market as well, you know, starting off and things like that. Did you ever think it was going to become the machine that it is today?
Machine.
Yeah. It is a machine. It's bloody fucking incredible.
It's, I never thought, no.
Yeah.
No, I really didn't. I also think that like that's probably a dangerous way to start anything, isn't it? Thinking we're going to conquer the world, start small. I really started really small. I was really doing it for my own enjoyment in many ways. I liked it. I was making a podcast that I'd listen to and hoping for the best. I had no plan for episode number 2, but the Irish Times put it on the cover of their paper. And I know how number 1 works in the iTunes charts and that it is about new subscribers. So like I knew it's not a huge deal to go to number 1 right away, but it was enough to make you go, wow, well, all the messages and stuff, people like it. So let's go and make more. And at the time I was in Edinburgh, sort of surrounded by Irish people abroad who had done well. And I think I just asked Ed Byrne if he'd do episode number 2, and we recorded it the next day. And from that point forward, I don't know if you feel this way about podcasts, but I always feel that part of the relationship is consistency.
Yeah.
That we have an unwritten contract with our listeners to provide it on time, to a quality, and we haven't missed a week since the beginning. Like it's every single Sunday since 2013, so here we are.
That's incredible.
336 7 episodes later.
Because I think a lot of products, with podcasts as well, it's great to have an idea and it's great to kick something off and get that initial attraction. But it's when you talk to someone 65, 66 episodes even down the line, it's a case of, are you still doing what you did when you started? Because it is tough to keep it going. Do you think there's one key in your consistency, or is it just a love for it?
Well, like consistency in everything, I think it comes down to, like, for all of us are trying to be consistent friends and parents and workers, and really I think sometimes it is just about having a kind of a pride in it, right? That if you're connected to the sense that, well, am I the kind of person that lets people down? If you can connect a pride to something, whatever it is, whether it's training for a marathon, if you can connect your personality to it, actually breaking the chain of consistency becomes harder, because the guilt of it.
Yeah,
right?
Completely.
Irish
The shame.
People, the guilt and shame. Just went full Catholic Church on myself there. Yeah.
And then you were saying you've over 300 episodes, haven't missed a Sunday, which is incredible. I don't know when you take holidays, but you've had such incredible guests. We're talking Chris O'Dowd, Boy George, some amazing names. Do you think there's been like a highlight or like a top guest that you're like, oh, that was just...
There's definitely been a few moments where I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. And moments where, like, somebody who doesn't do interviews, like Aidan Gillen, who, isn't a great man for, a one-on-one chat, was like, that was a highlight, because they were the trust of it.
Yeah.
And the same with Tom Vaughan Lawler. And, also the kind of, I think one of the nicest relationships that we've had across the episodes with Sharon Horgan, who was one of the first guests before Catastrophe, before it all blew up. And I think she was still writing Catastrophe when I first met her. She's been on, I think, 3 times since. And, for me, I can't really pick a special moment, but I can pick kind of moments like that, and kind of trickier ones that have been hard to do, but people have enjoyed. I mean, oftentimes it's the one that you think, oh, that was really tricky, and then if people like that one. So everybody has, I don't think it's up to me to say what the favourites are in some ways. It's up to everyone else.
But I think that's what's great about your podcast as well, is that you offer such variety. It's not just one person that does one thing. There's such a variety. Do you find it difficult to kind of try and pull from different people, or?
Well, as we're on the podcast we're on, like, getting women on the podcast is a priority for me. And that's been hard, because, you're asking a stranger to sit in a room with you in a closed space. And I've talked to Deborah Francis-White and Sarah Pascoe and other people who are like, super active, brilliant feminist warriors about how can I do this? And it's so hard often to just get past that part of the trust element of it. And I'm still working on that, to be totally honest. What was the question again? That's just one thing that was on my mind, being on the Girls with
You're
Girls
like,
podcast.
now that I'm here, can I nab some of your guests?
Oh, maybe that's why it came to mind, because I feel like I have restless nights about the gender balance on the show.
Okay.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And my wife, who's kind of the secret weapon of the podcast, who has for years done great research and has found guests that I never would have thought of, is forever pushing. And, we try and get the best ones we can. But, the work of guest getting, if anyone's thinking starting a podcast.
No, I can't even.
That is the work. Like, it better than anyone. 99% of the work takes place off air. And this is kind of the fun bit.
No, this is definitely the fun bit. I even know myself when you're trying to rally guests, be it the women that you find hard to get for your show or just anyone. It's like, will they show up? Will they be on time? Will we actually have someone for next week? It is restless night's sleep. Like actually recording the shows is the fun part.
There is that. Will they show up?
Yeah, but you were saying about getting women on the show. If you were to pick a woman to have on your podcast, anyone, be it a 2020 goal, who would it be?
Mary Robinson was always number one.
Okay.
Even like I can remember I found the email the other day, the first one I sent to her, and kind of trying to find exactly where to go and how to word it. And delighted to say she's doing it this month. She's going to do it in March. So we'll have Mary Robinson on, which was always a dream. I always wanted Jean Butler on, and she just said that she would do it. We're not locked in yet, but she's definitely going to do it. I always wanted Ruth Nega on the podcast. I think she's incredible. Obviously, Saoirse. I could go on and on. There's so many amazing ones. Like Katie Taylor, I've been in touch with her management as well. And, I think in some ways you've really got to respect people's right to say no. And I'm sure that the time's not right. Like I remember talking to Andy Lee when he was still an active fighter, and talking to him about mortality in the ring, injury, the potential of death, like at the job he does. And I kind of felt bad, like in the interview, because I was like, he was like, no, I never think about that. And I was like, I shouldn't have brought this up, because now he is thinking about that. In that way, I guess you have to, I don't see myself as press. I think that's the other thing. I don't see myself as some journalist trying to get a scoop. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't that, they can sense that. And I think you've got to respect that relationship as well, that we're not trying to mine people for the juicy bits. With Irishman Abroad, certainly, it's much more of a conversation show. And
do you think that Irish people, they have an inability to say no sometimes? That it's a case of, will you do the show? I'll think about it, and just never come back to you.
I definitely get a lot of no's, and I definitely get a lot of, I wouldn't say get a lot of no's, you're right. I get a lot of, I know you read that message. and you have to just go, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But equally, you've got to be able to go, whatever, fine, no worries, let's come back to it and not be like, oh, you didn't reply to my last message.
Yeah.
That's, I think we can all learn a little bit from that, the sense of, people have stuff going on. You really don't know what's going on in people's lives, and you're asking them to do a free thing.
I know. It's not the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing. And do you think as well that when you approach people, you have to try and get across the message that you're not going to pry, it's just a conversation? Or
well, I would actively tell them that.
Yeah.
I would say, a lot of the times I'll say, if there's anything you want to take out, I say it at the top, we'll take it out. So if and it does happen in a long, as yours is, a long chat, stuff can get said. You can forget that you're being recorded, and stuff has been said where people have come back to me and gone, yeah, can we cut that bit about my ma? And then that bit goes, and they walk away happy, feeling like I'll recommend it to someone else.
Well, I think that's the great thing about an Irishman Abroad. You can tell that it's an intimate conversation, and whether or not someone wants something cut out of it, it seems really raw, and it seems really from the heart, and they're telling things how it is. And I think that's what podcasts started out to be, and what they still should be. I think I saw a meme recently, and it was like the 90s, let's start a band, is the 2020, let's make a podcast.
Isn't it mad?
It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
That's the way that's what it's become. And who knows, is the YouTube channel then the next thing? Maybe not. But all I know is that we've never plateaued. And I feel the same way with you guys. Yeah. Very ambitious idea, and you're always headed upwards
Yeah.
for that reason.
No,
that you're not just
completely.
resting on your laurels going, well, sure, that's what we do.
Yeah, and like I'm a brand now, so you know, it
Relax.
still has the core values that it did when it began. And I think that's what's so important. But moving from your podcast to your comedy, you started doing comedy when 2003.
I started doing comedy when my employer told me that they no longer wanted to employ me. And I went home and started looking for another job. And my girlfriend, now wife, Tina, said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm looking for another job." And she was like, "You hate your job." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." She was like, "Yeah, you know what you want to do here." And that was tell jokes. and like, I feel like that was a much bigger leap back then. Because now, as any comic listening to this will know, you have access to the audience. And a vast, vast splintered audience that you only need a tiny little bit of that pie to be able to sustain a YouTube channel or even a Patreon page that will support your creative outlet. But this is like late 2000s, that's not the case. And a bit more of a roll of the dice. So yeah, to answer your question, it's like 2006-ish was when I got let go, and that was kind of the beginning.
And I always wonder, how does it begin? Do you just tell jokes in your sitting room? Were you like, actually, I'm kind of funny. I could run with this.
I probably was annoying people telling jokes for an awful long time. Absolutely loved comedy. Absolutely in love with it, from like the way little boys love football. I loved comedy and just, well, like there's something involuntary about comedy, like about laughter. There's just something like people lose control of themselves. And that just like has always been amazing to me, that like making somebody laugh it's like the highest achievement you can have in human interaction. I was saying to somebody the other day that it really annoys me that there's no comedy Oscar, because you can make anybody cry. Everyone cries. Cry once a day.
Sad music makes anyone cry. I think if you put sad music to any video,
yeah, John
you'll
Lewis.
cry. Yeah.
Off you go.
Boom, tears.
Laughter's hard. Laughter is hard, and that I guess I'm extremely proud that I've managed to make a living doing it, and I feel like what I've written now, what I'm here promoting in this Vicar Street show, is the best thing I've written. It's the funniest thing. I feel, well, I kind of like, I guess I walked around for an awful long time going, "Oh, sure, Jesus, don't mind me. Sure, I'm just trying my best to be funny. Oh God. Oh, well, look, sure, we'll see if it's funny. And if you like it, you like it." Now I'm like, fuck that. Look, it's really good. I like it. And I kind of don't give a shit now. People like it, and people have liked the show. So if people want to come to Vicar Street, they will laugh. I mean, the other person I talked to the other day was, like, the aim here is to leave you in pain. Like, it's not to make you titter.
Yeah.
It's to double you over and like hit you in the face with these jokes as hard as possible so that you cry.
Yeah. I want
That's
you
my
to
job.
feel pain.
Yeah, that's it. That's why it's called killing. That's why they're called punchlines.
Actually, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's why
Oh my God,
people
that's
say
scary.
I destroyed. It's a very violent thing. And I wrote the show Organ Freeman. That was the last one I took to Vicar Street. I donated the kidney to my brother. It was a very different kind of kettle of fish. It was quite a hard show to perform about a very strange time in my life. But there was comedy in it. And in some ways, comedy lets you get to things. Like The Big Sick is one of my favourite movies. And it allowed Camille and Emily to address something that wouldn't have flown in drama. It just would have been another
Tear. Yeah.
movie. And comedy allows you to get there to things that you don't see coming. Hence the punchline.
If you had to describe Notions 11, how would you describe it?
Well, it's a very kind of, I guess the way I've described it is it's a show about now. And I think there's been a lot of talk about how hard it is to write comedy in the current climate. And oh Jesus, sure you might be offending somebody. I don't agree with that. I don't really agree with that. I think that if you can't write jokes about now without hurting people's feelings, you need to look at how you're writing and what it is that you're writing and why you want to write things that are going to hurt people. But then maybe I'm just not hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't get hurt easily. I'm an extremely privileged white straight man who grew up with a load of opportunities at his feet. So I don't judge anybody for being offended by comedy, but I wanted to write a show that was really about now.
Yeah.
And found some grain of silly in what we're all dealing with, because this is a weird time
It's
to
weird,
live.
isn't it?
It is a weird time to live.
Would you say you've notions?
110%. And I would defend my right to have those notions. I mean, look, the idea of you're going to stand up on stage and everybody shut up.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk. That's notions by definition.
Look, it is. It is. I won most notions at my Christmas party 2 years ago. And I was actually kind of traumatised when I won, because I was up against people that I personally thought, there was nominees as well, which was alarming. And I was up against people I thought were way more notiony than me. And then when they called out me as the winner, I was like, maybe I need to take a long, hard look at myself.
Oh
maybe
my God.
I am more
Most
notiony.
Notions Award is amazing.
I know.
And did they give you on what basis?
Just my round the
General.
office life, it seems. Our awards are harsh. Like they're dog eat dog.
But here's the other thing. They gave you the award knowing you could take the joke.
Yeah. See,
that's
I
a
got a
compliment.
cert, which is great. It's on my wall.
They
Look
couldn't
at it,
give
kiss
it
it
to
every
you.
day.
Maybe you don't have the most notions. Maybe they gave it to you because they knew you didn't have the most notions, because the people that had true notions about themselves
Yeah.
would be offended
Yeah.
by a notions
They
award.
might have nominated him to give them the dig, and so they know. I know
Yeah.
you've notions.
To let you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really, really happy about the award. I feel like the show will be very suited to me. So
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
If
Yeah.
it's all about notions, and then it's a stand-up special. So is the show being recorded?
It's being filmed, yeah. So there'll be a bit of fun in that, you know, when you go to film and you're at a thing that's being recorded, whether it's The Late Late or the Ray Darcy show or what's another show?
TV.
Telly. I think, I'm going to try and make that element of it as fun for the audience as possible as well. So, we're going to have to get a certain amount of stuff in the first half that is, to have.
Content.
To keep as
Yeah.
cutaways. And, we're going to have some fun with that. I also have a support act called John Mars, a new Northern Irish comedian who's going to be on in the first half as well. And then, filming the special itself in the second half of the show. So I'm excited to get it done.
Yeah. And then how do you find about the whole getting up on stage situation, talking to the crowds? Is it a thing that you find daunting, or do you think it's second nature to you now at this stage?
No, never find it. No, I don't know. I think I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's your
that's the
job,
job.
so it's key. But, you have some people who have to do this like pre-show warm-up where they're nearly turning inside out in
I've seen
the
those
changing
comedians,
room,
yeah.
before they go up on stage. But you find it fine.
PJ, former guest of yours.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like it in my life. It's like, what's going on? What's he doing?
What?
Slapping his face, rubbing himself, punching himself,
Yeah.
running around, shouting. It's like, I'd never judge him for it, but I was like, do you not like doing this? Like, I volunteered to do that. I wanted to do this. But like, it's funny because there he is, and there are loads like him.
Yeah. And you'd
volunteer.
never see that side of it. No, you never would.
Yeah, you never think it. But like, honestly, you do have an anxiety, right? But I think as you move through it, and anyone who's starting out in comedy or thinking about trying comedy and thinks, oh, I couldn't get over the nerves, I do think it's about framing. That, like, I'm sure you have a certain amount of anxiety when you come in here to do this, but in your mind, that's me preparing to do my best. That's my body telling me, don't fuck this up. this
You've
is
bills to
important to
pay.
you. Yeah. And yeah, you want to continue doing this, do this well. I mean, it's just not letting that take over
Yeah.
and kind of impede what it is you're trying to do. Like, I definitely was very anxious in the beginning, but I mean, what's the point? Like, what is the point? Like, we're not here for that long.
I know. This is it.
Just enjoy it while you're doing
This
it.
is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And then do you think when it comes to the jokes part and making people laugh, is there a fear that people won't laugh?
If there isn't, there's something wrong, right? If you don't care if they laugh or not, well then just do it at home into the mirror, or write a blog. You're like, I am definitely trying to give people the best, as I said, the best night out they're going to have. I actually don't worry about that, because I think that, like, if there's a joke that I know to be funny and they don't laugh,
The joke's
like,
on them.
I would address it. I would go, what's the matter with you? Or not like I would berate them, but just like, that's puzzling.
Yeah.
Because I think that's funny. But then, you're essentially, the job is to communicate you think is funny,
Yeah.
to convince other people that you're right, right?
Oh,
so you take these
absolutely.
ideas, you tell them the ideas, and they either agree or disagree
Yeah.
with you as to whether they're funny.
No, because I've been to shows where comedians practice their jokes. So before
right.
a comedian goes on tour,
Sure.
they have,
Work
a
in
list
progress.
of jokes and they need to cut some out. So
Yeah.
I've been to shows where it's almost like we're the detectors on whether or not something is funny.
Yeah.
And they're quite mad.
They're like, yeah, and like, I those experiences, yeah, I guess those are the ones, because you've done all these before you go to Vicar Street to record something like this. You've done a lot of stress testing. You've done an awful lot of that. You've attempted to throw it out there and see,
Yeah.
is there something? Because there are definitely certain jokes that you've gone, I thought that was funny. Why? I guess I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's plenty of times where you go, I'm doing something wrong. That is funny. I got to fix that. And you'll have friends, like I've a certain amount of comedy friends who you text and ring and go, this joke's not working. And like a mechanic, another comic can pull it apart and go, yeah, you're introducing that too soon. That needs to wait till the end. And they'll click it back together and all of a sudden it's running perfectly. It's a weird, like it is already a weird thing, but it's a weird kind of, there's a weird kind of construction in mathematics to the.
But that's interesting, because it's like the grounds of the joke, like, is there. You've got the thing. It's just getting the hook almost to.
Nearly. I mean, the analogy that a lot of people use is it's a cliff. It's a cliff jump. The audience have to be taken across this precipice, across to the other side. If they feel like they see the other side coming, there's no thrill in it. There's no laugh. So if it's too difficult to get them to the punchline, they'll fall down the middle and won't get the joke. So it's actually just trying to get that to the right width. I'm probably just talking shit.
No, I
here.
actually
don't
love
know what
that.
I'm talking about.
I'm sitting there being like, wow.
You ever bore yourself?
I'm a sucker for like a quote or a metaphor or analogy like that. I'm like, wow, that really speaks to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably people literally unsubscribing from the channel right now.
They're like, help. No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm only messing. But no, Ocean's 11. So yeah, that's going to be an incredible show. What advice would you give to some new comedians if someone is in the room listening right now thinking, I want to make it, I want to do what he's doing?
Well,
How do they do that?
I guess like there's various. There's so many different places that person could be listening to it, right? If
Yeah.
you're in the place of, I've never tried this before, but secretly, I would like to do it. And I mean, that's every comic that you've seen on the TV has started there with the idea that I think I could do that. You have to get up. There's no point in talking about it, annoying your friends about it. Go and get up, do an open spot somewhere, and usually you'll know right away. It is like, weirdly, it is like a relationship. Irish women are no nonsense. Do not waste my time. Comedy is the exact same way. Comedy will tell you, this is for you, this is not for you. Not all Irish women are right when they tell a guy to feck off in a bar.
Fair.
They can miss a guy.
Yep.
They can miss a golden one. I would give it 3 open spots. Give yourself 3 5-minute sets. If at the end of that, you're still in love with her and she's being kind to you, go for it. I mean, really, really, really commit. But it's one of the few jobs where, again, Seinfeld said, like, you don't give a surgeon a scalpel and go, just keep cutting until the person feels better. But in comedy, you pretty much do that. You go, get up, do it, and they start laughing. You've got a new job.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's so weird like that. But there's lots of help out there as well.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you've tried your open spot, you're still in love with her, but she's still not being good to you, there's loads of help. You're in an age of like free information. There's so much inspiring writing help and technique help and just loads of comedy to consume. I'd consume as much of it as you can as well. See different types. There's a lot more out there than just Michael McIntyre.
Okay, well, I think that's really solid advice. That's actually,
Thank you.
maybe I'll start comedy. This could be my new venture. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jarlath. You can see yourself, see more of him on stage at Vicar Street, March 6th with Notions 11.
Thank you.